sick this day. It's right before Christmas. And I was in a hurry to get the dog because I decided, I guess my husband and I decided in October, which is not enough time to go to a breeder before Christmas and get a golden retriever. And everything on the internet said, do not buy from a pet store. And I went right up to Bel Air and saw these little puppies and bought her from a pet store and paid a terrible price. And that pet store is now closed down. We can talk about it later, but we're still part of the lawsuit for the puppy mill that she came from in Missouri. So she came to us. That's later. We'll talk about how she came to us later. But some of you know because if you got it from the tape, right? So, so this is going to pick up Cowboy up in Bel Air. The front window of the pet chalet was resplendent with swirling, glittery snowflakes and hand-painted holly leaves, reminding LA that it was indeed Christmas despite the heat. Will stood below a sign that read, "Special order your puppy or kitten today," his nose pressed against the glass, hands cupped on either side of his face. Inside were 3 baby cribs painted white, blue, and yellow. In each one, 2 or 3 fuzzy puppies, standard poodles, shih tzus, labradors, were rolling around chewing on each other's ears or sleeping in piles. Will stayed cemented to his spot outside, quietly taking in the chaos through the window and listening to the cacophony of oohs and ahs wafting out the open door. I placed my hand on his narrow back. I'm going to have to put my finger in my place. While Michael, his dad, knelt down beside him, wrapping his arm around Will's waist. Wills looked up at me. "She's in there," I said. "Once we get her, we can get away from this crowded place." Tears streamed down his face. "She's waiting," he said. I pulled a wrinkled Kleenex out of my purse and dabbed his face. "Do you want me to go in and get her?" Michael asked. "I can bring her outside away from the noise." "I'll get her myself," Will said, taking my Kleenex and handing it to Michael. As the 3 of us made our way inside, the clamor escalated. Parrots squawking, dogs barking, and people shouting into their cell phones. But Will's still held steady. In front of us, a long, tapered staircase. "Cowboys at the top of those stairs," I told him. "She's up there, all right," Michael agreed, giving Will's a little squeeze. Will's eyes followed the stairway all the way up to the top. "Boy, she's high," he said, repeating the sentence under his breath several more times. "Does she know I'm coming?" "Mommy told her you'd be here today," Michael said. Will's focused on the top of the steps as one of the employees, eager to help us, ran up to get her. Will's was pale, his eyebrows practically touching his hairline. Michael picked him up. "This is pretty exciting, but a little scary too, right?" he asked. Will's nodded. "It's a big moment," Michael confirmed. Just then the employee walked down the steps carrying Cowboy. The most beautiful golden retriever puppy Wills could have ever imagined. I told Wills as calmly as I could because I really wanted to scream it. "That's her, honey. That's your girl, Cowboy." She looked sleepy with those irresistible droopy brown eyes. Her blonde hair as fragile and fluffy as new grass. Wills wriggled out of Michael's arms. The store clerk handed Cowboy to Wills. "Hold her just like this," he said, tucking Wills' hand under her bottom. "She's a cutie," Wills said in a clear but timid voice. I placed a hand under Cowboy's warm tummy to help steady her. "You're a pro," Michael said. "You're doing great," I echoed. "Isn't she a cutie?" Wills asked again, eyes on the top of Cowboy's head. "Well, honey, she's perfect," I told him and kissed his cheek. Michael and I were paying the final bill while Will stood next to me, Cowboy snuggling against his small chest. Don't worry about it. Just makes me feel at home. I'll start over. Michael and I were paying the final bill while Will stood next to me, Cowboy snuggling against his small chest. The shop had exploded with even more shoppers crowding in to hold the Himalayan cats or buy squeaky rubber stocking stuffers. "Is that your doll?" A woman with perfect blonde highlights and a Birkin bag asked Wills. I instinctively stepped forward to rescue him from the awkwardness of talking to a stranger, but I didn't need to. "Yes," he told her, turning so she could see Cowboy's face. "She's a cutie." "She sure is," the woman said. And then something happened. It was so small that nobody in the store would have noticed it, but to me, it was extraordinary. This woman, a complete stranger, patted Wills's shoulder, and he didn't bristle or bolt out of the front door in an absolute panic. He just stood there staring at us with a shy, what do you know, smile. Because somehow, with this tiny heart beating next to his, Wills had stepped a little further into the world.